Brought to you by the Every Dollar app. Start budgeting for free today. Cheryl is in Medford, Oregon. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Thank you, Dave and Rachel, for taking my call. This is a first-time caller, and I'm a little, I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you.
Glad
How can
you're
we
here,
help?
Cheryl.
Big breath. So I have a question. I'm in my late 60s, and I'm married happily to my husband. We have 5 adult children. I've been listening for about a year. And what's changed in my situation is my mom passed away about 5 months ago.
Sorry.
And thank you. It's been, she was sick for a while, so, it still was hard. But the situation is she left. We grew up on a piece of property there, and she's been there since about 1958. And we all grew up there, and now this property is in a trust, and we're all trying to figure out how to divide it amongst us. And it's just been really volatile. Not that I haven't contributed to it, because I'm a woman, but I just want to do and honor the Lord and just, honor my sister and my brother. But it's difficult because they've all put a lot of money into the ranch, and my mother has it in the estate that she wants it divided amongst us. And we've kind of been an outsider because we've ranched in other places. And now we're here now, and we're just trying to figure out our role in that.
So what is the trust asking people to do, and what is it they don't want to do?
The trust has asked that we divide it equally amongst ourselves.
How is that fair if they put money into it and you didn't?
Let's see, how do I go about that? They invested it in areas that benefited them and kind of an area that they wanted to.
How did it benefit them? They didn't own it.
Did they make money off of that?
Yes, one was in hemp, trying to grow hemp for a couple of years and building a building that utilized that resource. And then another was...
Yeah, but that building now has a value, regardless of whether hemp's in it or not.
Correct, $50,000.
Yeah, and that building, if they built that building with their money, your mom didn't, that should be their money, right?
Correct.
If I was them, that's how I would see it.
Okay.
Which is, let me tell you, the whole idea that they would build a building on someone else's property without having everything lined out in the trust in detail was pretty stupid, because it sets up a big argument. Your mother and your brothers and sisters should have their butts kicked for not doing this properly, because it leaves you in a lurch. So what is it they're wanting to do, the brothers and sisters?
My sister has moved a lot of property. Has moved buildings onto the property and put buildings on the property, some of them legitimate and some of them not. And then she wanted $150,000 for providing care for my mother.
Mm-hmm. But the trust doesn't allocate that.
No, and then she lived on the property and her children did. 50% of her children did at the same time for the last 5 years.
With no rent?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And so... so I guess the negotiating is that I assume you guys have an estate. Who's the trustee?
My brother.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
The youngest.
And so he's really caught in this. Bless his heart.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Okay, so his job, unless you guys come to a mutual conclusion otherwise, he doesn't have a choice. He legally has to follow the terms of the trust, whether he wants to or not. His only out is that everyone agree to something different and go along with it. But otherwise, he's going to divvy this up straight up. He has to, because otherwise he's liable for suit. He has a fiduciary trust responsibility as the trustee to execute the terms of the trust. If he doesn't, any one of you that are the beneficiaries would have cause against him.
So, Cheryl, the fact that that there's other, that they've put money into it, how are you feeling? Are you on one side saying, yeah, you got to divide it up a third, it's what it says? Or are you like, I want to be fair in this and do the right thing, I just don't know what it is? Where are you at in all of it?
Well, it's kind of complicated because all the assets are on one part of the property. It's worth 2.2, but it's hard. Some of it's exclusive farming, and so you can't really do anything with it, and not necessarily can build on it. And that's the part that we've been interested in. But then when we research it, it's going to be pretty expensive to try to, put things that we have to do to live there, and we live about an hour away.
Why don't you just sell it?
And that's a possibility too.
Your part, just sell your part.
Oh, we've just wanted to farm. It's kind of our way to try to. Well, we have cattle. We don't have a place for them. We have a couple at the ranch right now, but we have.
So you're thinking about moving on the property?
Well, we've been thinking about it, but it's been a little
next door to all these people that you disagree with.
Well,
that sounds joyful.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I guess so. That doesn't sound fun at all. Like next door to my brother, who's still mad about something that happened 15 years ago. Oh my God. I would have to have real good, solid, loving, harmonious relationships before I'd want to live next door to them. And I don't know if this story you're telling me ends there. So you need to consider that part of it. But here's your bottom line on the whole thing. Let's pretend that you wanted to allow your hemp brother and your sister tenant to get a little more than you got because they put buildings on it. In my mind, the care that she provided for your mom is offset by the fact she got free rent. So that's absolute bull. I'm dropping that one if I'm you. But she gets nothing. She already got it. It's called free rent. And so then whoever brought buildings on will take the value of those buildings out of the equation and then split what's left three ways. Then they get their buildings back. And so because you should not benefit, I don't think, ethically from them putting a building on the property because you didn't put money in it. It's their money. Again, the whole thing was dumb that you all that the family did this. Doing this stuff is how people end up not speaking to each other generationally. You end up with the Hatfields and the McCoys. And so, yeah, it's just dumb. But anyway, that's water under the bridge. But let's say that you said, all right, we're going to take the buildings off. Now we run an appraisal. Then you get your buildings back. So you got your buildings back, and then I get my third of what's left. I would agree to doing that, and no $150,000. That is exchanged for the free rent. If you all agree to that, then little brother, the trustee, can go along with that. Otherwise, he has to execute the trust. He does not have a choice. All right, guys. Last call about the estate that's messed up and the late 60s brothers and sisters that are left fighting because their parents and them did business very poorly. What is the takeaway? Number one takeaway. If you're 18 years old or older, you need a will. Period. Now, let's understand what a will is. If I have a will, if I will it for, if it is my will for Rachel to be on this show, she's on this show, okay, as a guest or as a host, co-host, right? Okay, if I have if it is my will to wear a green jacket today, I will get it out of the closet. That's what you want to have happen is your will, okay? That's what having a will means. This is what you will. It's what you want to have happen. In your last will and testament, it's the last thing you want to have happen, and you are testifying to that fact. That's all that means. So this is what I want to have happen when I do a will. And the executor of the will, the word executor is one who executes. They execute what I wanted to have happen. They don't have a choice. Same is true of a trustee on a trust. The executor can't change the will. It's not their job. And even if they don't like it, even if they think it's not fair, they can't just change it. The trustee can't change the terms of the trust. It's not their job. Their job is to execute those, what that person intended to have happen, what they wanted, what they willed to have happen, and they testified to that fact. Okay? So keeping your will up to date is huge. It should be done in the state according to the laws of the state in which you reside. So if you change states, get a new will. Any other major thing that happens, divorce, get a new will. Death of someone that's in the will, get a new will. Update your freaking will because it's incomplete, it's wrong. You can't execute it if you live in Idaho and you did a will in Tennessee. Okay? It's not federal law, it's state law. Probate law is state law. So it's done according to the laws of the state you reside in when you die. And so if your will is done something or asks for something to be done that the laws of that state you're residing in don't allow and you haven't updated it, you're screwed up the whole thing. This is called grown-up paperwork. Grown-ups do a will. Well, I might die. You're going to die. It does not increase your probability of death when you do a will. You're going to die. There's a 100% death rate in the human race, okay? Plus or minus Elijah and Jesus, okay? The rest of us are going to die, okay? So that's it. You're going to get a will. Go to Mama Bear Legal Forms if you have a basic life and you don't have a lot of complication, and get an inexpensive will online. It's a great will, but it's state-specific. Mama Bear Legal Forms, we've endorsed them for years. You've got a complicated situation, get an attorney. Get an estate planning attorney. I have spent an amazing amount of money on estate planning to keep the government's freaking hands off of it. And then once a year, we have a little meeting with all the Ramseys and all the leaders at Ramsey, and we tell everybody again.
And it's labeled, if Dave dies this year.
That's the name of the meeting, if Dave dies this year. We call it the Monty Python meeting. I'm feeling much better. It's just a flesh wound. But yeah, oh my God. And we sit and talk about my death for an hour and a half.
And when he skydives,
what has changed since last year in the operation of Ramsey and the operation of this piece of real estate?
Is he going scuba diving? What are all the ways?
I do all the stuff. I do all the stuff. So I'm not going to quit doing all the stuff. That's not the point, because I'm going to die. That's part of the program. So I'm good with that, because heaven's on the other side of it. I'm perfectly good with that. So anyway, get a freaking will. And when you're going to do stuff with a family piece of ground like that family had, and I'm going to move in with Mama, and I'm going to take care of Mama. Oh, by the way, I'm charging all y'all $150K. Well, kiss my butt. I don't think so. We can stop that on the front end. We don't have to have an issue here. You're going to move in and take care of Mom, so are you expecting to be paid? We're going to write all this down. Or we think you should be paid, because I'm happy you're there to take care of Mom. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm more than happy with that. And so if you get more of the estate because I'm happy with that. But we should do all of this in writing as a part of the program, and then not leave it behind confused. And so if you're doing something in your will, like I'm not going to leave Jim Bob any money because Jim Bob does heroin and he'll go get heroin and kill himself. So Jim Bob, you're out of the will. Go ahead and tell Jim Bob while you're alive, because he's going to be pissed, and you might as well have the pleasure of him being pissed while you're alive. You might as well stir it up.
Get him off heroin. I don't know.
Stir it up. Stir it up. Maybe it'll clean him up. But I mean, go ahead. You know, this stuff of we're going to go into the paneled office of the lawyer and the weird plastic surgery induced stepmother and the inbred child and all this other stuff in there, like some movie, and we're going to have a reading of the will. That only happens in a movie, okay? A bad movie. And we've all seen the movie, all right? Several of them. So in real life, real people go ahead and communicate with their family. They say, brother is putting a $50,000 hemp building on the property. God help us. And so brother is going to get that $50,000 building is not going to be included in the value that is split three ways, because it's his freaking money. Okay. And we're going to write that into the trust before brother, because he apparently smoking the hemp, put the building on there without freaking dictating that he was going to get his own money back.
Okay, so people listening, though, right now,
God,
need to get a will, yes. But what do you say to people? Because I get this question a lot, that my parents, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to do a will. Whenever we try to bring up the conversation, they shut it down.
Well, then don't put a building on their property.
Okay, I know, but what's your advice? What would you say to someone, though, that's like, how do I help my parents see that they need a will so that we're not in this situation?
Mom and Dad, we love you so much. We would love to see that your legacy is carried out the way you want it to be carried out. When it's all in your head, nobody knows what the flip you want to have happen. So maybe you ought to write it down. It's called a will. It's what grown-ups do.
Okay, that's
and by the way, the government's going to end up with a bunch of this too if you're going to screw around and do this right. Some of these estates, that's a $2 million estate there.
Yep.
That one is not going to be subject to federal estate tax now, but it would have been under Obama. Okay? And so Trump's estate limits are still in place right now because Biden hadn't gotten around to screwing that up. But he will eventually once he wakes up from, well, anyway, all right, so, I mean, seriously, people, write it down and then have a review with your family. Here's what we want to have happen. I'll give you another example, okay? This is public knowledge, so I'm not telling some big tale. The Ramsey kids now own the vast majority of this company. I own a minority position, but I own the only voting stock, so I'm still in control, okay? We transferred that out of our names. Sharon will get none of this company. If I die before Sharon does, it'll go straight to the kids. It's part of our estate plan. By the way, Sharon knows that. Sharon doesn't want anything to do with this place. The kids are going to run it. That's what she does. She just wants money. That's all she wants. And so we got that. We got Miss Sharon set up because the whole estate plan is also presupposing I'm going to die first, which means she has a plan. So, golly. So anyway, that's an example though. Okay, that's a weird thing. It didn't go to my wife and then to my kids. Mm-hmm. It went straight to my kids. And she's one of the owners prior to that.
Yeah.
Too. So, but you talk about this crap and you put it down in writing. It's called a will. It's called a trust that's updated. So people, do your will and tell everybody about it that is in it or not in it so that they don't have to fight about it later.